Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel today. So today I got a more different style of pedal to show off. It is the Universal Audio Anti 1992 high gain amp simulator. From what I've been told, it is pretty much emulating a 5150 amp, and if you are familiar with the older style amps, because 1992, you would know what I'm talking about, and it was a staple of older amp sounds, and I believe they're still made today. It is a very good amplifier. If you're into guitars, that is specifically metal, very heavy stuff. I believe, who was it? I think, if I'm not mistaken, Slipknot did use them for a bit. I may be completely wrong on that. I'll have to check. Anyway, so the biggest thing I want to show about this is how it can work very well in synthesizers, just because with the way everything sits and with how I actually do things, I think any type of pedal can be used on a synthesizer. And what's really cool, over here I have the ASM Hydra Synth Explorer, because I don't have space for the big one, nor did I feel like affording the big one at the time of this. And what is really cool about it is that this is stereo, and this is stereo. Very rare to have a stereo pedal. So this is a very unique style pedal. And also what's cool about it is that it has 6 different cabinets right here on it that you can cycle through to get different types of tones. Anyways, what I have set up on the Hydra Synth right now is a basic pluck that sounds like this. Nothing too fancy, but because I am the way that I am and I like heavier things, let's go and turn this on. And as you see, I went and brought up the lows, mids, and highs for all the overdrives, and I have it currently on the crunch setting for the channel type, which it has rhythm, crunch, and lead. I have the gate presence almost all the way up. I have a good bit of pre-gain, and I have the output slightly up, but I'm going to make sure it doesn't blow out anything. So that same pluck that was turns into as you see, something a lot heavier, which I can thoroughly enjoy. So let's just go with the same pluck and start tweaking it. So if we're having the same just basic tone, and we'll start with turning down the low. And as you would expect, that gets it pretty muffled because it's sort of like an EQ there. So let's say I want just pure low. Good bass sound on there. Let's do a little bit of mid. I don't want the high to blow it out. Let's get some more presence. And let's get a lot. See that pre-gain. A little bit too loud. Let's bring that down. Now let's go through some cabinets. So there's actually 6 cabinets, even though there's only 3 listed here. And then so it starts with red to show that you're in the first 3 that are listed, and then green to show you're in the auxiliary 3. Now, Here's one of the kinds that I immensely hate, and this is completely an old man yelling at cloud syndrome here. The other stuff, along with some features, is within an application. I hate apps. I want everything here so I can see it. I get it. Apps are convenient. They do more features. But then, again, this is completely old man. I'm only dissing people because I do not understand and I refuse to comprehend more than where I'm set in my ways. Anyways, I would just feel like a complete goober going on stage. Say you're at some heavy industrial metal concert or something like that, and the guitarist or the main synth player, like let's just say, I don't know, let's say Trent Reznor comes out on stage, and instead of programming his synthesizers or having a backing track or whatever he's up to nowadays, he pulls out his phone and says, "Hold on, guys. I gotta program my app real quick on my phone before I can play." So I'm not doing that. I'll go and set the pedal how I want, set it up at home, and hope I don't have to change it, because I'm not pulling out my phone in the middle of the stage unless I'm taking pictures of a crowd to make fun of them or anything like that. I find that would be silly. Which, again, I know times are changing. I understand a lot of stuff is within apps, but I hope some of y'all can understand my argument. I want everything here. I want to be able to see everything here and play with everything here. That's just how I am. I really have problems with software. Like when I was installing the software for this, because it does have firmware. When I was installing the firmware and actually installing the Universal Audio app, I about had a aneurysm, because in the middle of installing, I saw that fun little pop-up being iLok. I hate iLok. I hate any type of crazy DRM software just because I bought this. This is mine. I paid for this. Why do you need to install iLok? I'm sure it's for their software stuff on the same side, but that is one thing I cannot stand. That is one thing why I started moving more to pedals, moving more to DAW-less, because when I was younger, of course, I was completely into DAW with every other person, with a questionable copy of Fruity Loop Studio and questionable copies of, what was the one back in the day? I think it was called like Serum and Silent and Massive. But I use Ableton now, but I paid for it. I use Ableton, I paid for it, but I enjoy using more hardware than software nowadays, just because I want to be able to own my things and not have to rely on the internet connection or anything else to be able to play with it. So this is the end part of the old man yells at clouds rant within the middle of the video. It will happen again, but that's why I put chapters. So as I was saying, cab sims. Let's start with the first cab. So this is what it sounds like normally. And then let's just start with the UK V30 cab. Sounding of it does sound, I guess, like that old UK style of rock with a good crunch to it, along with having a more, what's it called, distance or something. I don't know the words. I'm probably not going to learn them anytime soon either. I just try and make good noise. I'm not technical. That's why in the description it says I'm scatterbrained. I just keep pressing things until something good happens. So that gives it, honestly, yeah, the good description sounds like it is filtered, like it's cutting out a lot of the styles. So next we have CAV30, which I'm assuming is one to California, which that might just be the American enemy. I think it's CA always means California. Watch it mean something else. Can I even change? and those changes are like very subtle, at least in my opinion. It might be because the Hydrosense pulling so much, and again, it's not really as suited for it, because again, so here's one thing I saw in the app. The reason I'm not going to the app is that this right here, this camera is my phone. I do not own more than one camera because I just have a phone. Okay. So anyways, in the app I saw like you can set like room size, different types of echo, different types of overdrive. So maybe I might get more presence out of that if I was able to go into the app at the same time. I'm not buying another camera at the time of filming. I keep spending my money on synths. So I cannot go and do this because gear acquisition syndrome has ate up all my money, but not in terms of cameras. I just have a phone. It's easy. I go take my phone, I plug it into the computer, I record it. My phone does 4K 60 frames per second. If I want to buy a camera that does the same, it is extremely expensive. Whatever. I'm not some videographer. I just play keys for a living. Anyway, so just going through the cab sims, like I said, and then turning it back off. It gets a good tone out of it within the pluck. No, I can't really hate on it for what it does. I find it very good for what it is. The cab sims, I find, honestly, with that type of gate on it, if I bring up the present to drive on everything and use a different type of synth, I find that that might work really well on like a drum machine, at least in my opinion. So let's go and see what else we got. Let's just turn this off. I want to try and see if I can find something that sounds nice. Alright, that's the bass tone. Now see, that is a good tone to run with this, because right there, just normal. That is a pretty gnarly tone right there. So let's throw this on, and then pretty decent in my opinion there. I find that it does work very well with those types of tones, which I can enjoy. And like I just showed there, so let's just try it with some of the cabs, see if I can get anything different. That actually surprised me there. That actually sounds really nice. Now, see, with this type of tone, I can actually hear a lot different. So, as you can tell, I'm doing this slightly, mostly kind of blind, but it is still a review because I want to be able to enjoy what I showed. And I have played with it a little bit, but I wanted to save a lot of discovery for while I'm still actually playing it, as instruments are meant to be played. So now I can actually hear a difference compared to the last bell because this actually has more of a drag to it. I like this one the best, so that's the green. Again, is the other 3 amplifiers that are within it that you have to and you have to have the app open to be able to see. If I would go look at it, I would tell you, but as I mentioned before, I can't. However, I like that sound. That is a very good one. So green on the first one with this type of sound. Obviously, it's not a real guitar, but with what this sounds like, sounds really nice. I do enjoy that. So let's see if I can find anything else to go with here. Let's turn this back off. Funny how that's just the bass tone. When this thing's punching a lot of weight there, just showing that. Let's see what else we got. Nah. Well, actually, let's see how it does with some chiptune, some 8-bits. And a good riff to play. I'm gonna keep it on. Let's actually go. Let's see what it leads. No. Let's stay on the crunch. All right, let's bring all this down. Let's find something that'll go good with a lead. Just because I've been messing on the crunch a lot because I like crunchy things, you know, bones, chips, wood, things like that. Let's go and see if we can find something decent in terms of something that would be a good lead. Might be a little too harsh. you know. Yeah, that's what I thought there. That'll be good. Let's try. It's crazy how much it changes. Turning this. Into that's actually a really good one too. Pretty decent. Let's see if I can find a good type of bass on here. I hope this doesn't blow out everything. I should play with rhythm. So what I'm doing here, I'm mostly making sure I almost want it low to see how well I can make this essentially just growl here. That actually sounded pretty decent. Let's see if I can find a less dubsteppy bass on here. Keep it to rhythm, low. Okay, I just found something decent there. Ow. I think I'm getting sick, as usual. Anyways, so I found just now, because I should actually try and read something once in a while, when I put on Alt, I can actually change these things around. So let's see, since I'm on Alt instead of just Amp, so I can do the resonance. Yeah, let's get some more resonance because it is a bass. I don't want any gate on it, pretty much. It's actually pretty harsh, but I mean, I did turn the overdrive all the way up. All right. I wonder, let's see if I can get a good technical lead in here. Okay, let's first go into Alt. Yeah. It sort of sounds like a xylophone, which is actually... I should get me a xylophone. Those things are fun. Cheap and fun. Let's see what we can do. Let's give it. I don't like it. No. So with playing with this a bit, going through a few different tones on my hydro synth here, I can say I actually do enjoy it. Besides my gripe of old man yelling at clouds rant that was in the middle of this, just because of apps and functionality and all that little mess. I do enjoy this. I do like this. I am going to hook it up to a guitar to see how this works. Not right now, but in future you'll see it working more of guitar. But this is definitely going to appear a little bit more. Now it is slightly expensive. That is the unfortunate part about it. I paid, let's see, I have it in my notes over here. I paid $437 for this after tax. So that is pretty steep for a singular pedal. But for what it does within this pedal, I find it very useful. I do like pedals that have stereo capability because then it gives it a lot more functionality, as you saw in my other pedal video on the Zoya pedal. Now, with how this sits, I'm definitely going to use it more. I'm definitely going to use it on guitars. I'm going to use it on different instruments, just because it does give me that very heavy sound that I am looking for. A good distortion, very good overdrive when tweaking with it, and especially if, say, if I chain this with a good chorus to give it more width to what I'm playing with, or even a fuzz or extra distortion on top of it to really just slime it up like that, I can find that this would be a very good pedal here. So if this is the type of tone you're looking for, like I said, it is sort of mimicking the old 5150s. So for guitar people out there too, this is decent. But I'm a synth person. I'm also a guitar person, but I like doing synths a lot more because they have a wide variety of stuff. But as it sits here, do I like it? Yeah, I like it. Will I buy it again? More than likely. Yeah, I think I would. I think it's a very unique sound. Well, not unique, but you get what I mean. It's a useful pedal for what it does, and I do like it. I hate the app because I just hate apps. Old man yelling at clouds. But all I can say of this has been Vic, your host here. Please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave any comments on anything else you would like to see this messed around with on, and leave comments about anything else. I don't care. Just I try to answer most of them that I see, but you know how it is. Sometimes YouTube seems to swallow up comments just because they feel like it. But I appreciate everyone for watching. Bye.